Hey there. I have a question for you. When was the last time that you felt like you really mattered, that you were really relevant? I mean, if you think back to maybe when you were involved in the PTA and you took a leadership role there, maybe, and you felt like, oh, that was good. I mattered there at the school. Or maybe it was when you decided to go back and get an advanced degree, and that was really exciting for you and you felt empowered and like you made a difference and you mattered. Or maybe it was when you got your last promotion at work. But those of us in the pro-aging movement, we hear over and over again from people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that they feel like they've become invisible. The leaving behind your work and no longer having a title and coworkers or even the routine, really, that's a big one. It leaves many people feeling adrift. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. In today's episode, Beverly Glazer, my friend and fellow podcaster, and I are going to talk about redefining ourselves with purpose and passion, and how finding a sense of relevance has given us such a different outlook on aging. It's not the outlook that society gives us that aging simply means decline. We have found a purpose and a sense of relevance in the work that we're doing and the lives that we're living. So, welcome to Boomer Banter, the podcast where we have real talk about aging well. My name is Wendy Green, and I am your host. And my guest today, Beverly Glazer, is a psychotherapist, a certified coach, an addiction specialist, writer, and the founder of Reinvent Impossible Inc., whose mission is to empower high achieving women to unlock their limitations, achieve their fullest potential, and lead lives of authentic purpose and fulfillment in all stages of life. Beverly is also a former AM talk radio host and is currently the host of her own weekly podcast. As I said, she's a fellow podcaster, and her podcast is called Aging with Purpose and Passion, where she is redefining ageism one story at a time. And as you listen to this episode, think about friends and family who could benefit from hearing some of the thoughts that we share, the tips that we share, the inspiration that we share, and then share it with them so that they can also learn and be inspired. And I also want to ask one other thing from you. Putting together this podcast, as you know, is expensive and time consuming. And so I am going to ask for your support. If you enjoy the show, could you please go to buymeacoffee.com/heyboomer0413. And once you get there, you can simply make a one-time contribution to let me know your thoughts about the show, or you can join our membership. And that is where we have 2 monthly meetings and we get to share and learn and build community. So it's buymeacoffee.com/heyboomer0413. And all of that will be in the show notes. So join me in welcoming Beverly Glazer to Boomer Banter. Hey, Bev.
Hey there, Wendy. As I was listening to your introduction, I'm nodding everything you've been saying because it is so true. As women get older, I'm sure men too, but women a little bit different. The children have left, perhaps the job has not been as inspiring because you've given up a lot of things in your life. Perhaps Mr. Wonderful is not so wonderful. And he's left, and there you are at 60 years old. Then perhaps you've retired and you have a wonderful life, but something is missing. And what's missing is really, and I've heard it so many times,
Me too.
I, I get up every day. I am so busy doing nothing.
I know.
I think that's huge. And this is why I've never stopped. This is why I don't feel unless you want to stop. Um, I do it differently. I haven't stopped, but I do it differently. As you said, I have a podcast. I work from home. I see my coaching clients. It's amazing what's out there. But I feel, and I know from the clients that I coach, that if you have a feeling in your heart that you're really not relevant, although you know you are, you know that your grandchildren are wonderful and so are mine. I need more.
Right.
You're one of those people
Yes.
as of today with podcasting, with the internet, with being able to write a book, with all you need is a desire. And
So, so true. So true. Let's talk about some of the people that we talk with, your clients and my membership people and my community. A lot of times we get in our own way, Beverly. We say things like, well, I always wanted to whatever, but I'm too old. I can't do that now. And so how do you go about helping them change that belief that they can still do things, maybe with some modifications, but you can still do things?
yeah, um, first of all, you can't tell anybody, yes, you can, when they feel they can't.
Right.
But what I always say is, and I'm going to just pivot a bit. A lot of people also feel, Wendy, like, what is there for me to do?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know? And then you go back into that squirrely brain, which is going to say, yeah, but I'm too old anyway, or I've missed my time, or even feel guilty when you're talking to your friends because you have it all. Like, why don't you just enjoy it? You know?
Right.
And then
Right.
you feel guilty, like, really? Am I just plain greedy? So, where I start is go back to the things you used to love to do. And uh, just last week, a specific client, when I was coaching her, the same thing. She was saying, I still have my business. I share it with my husband. We're getting a divorce. I want to sell the business. But, all that stuff. But now what? Okay,
Yeah.
so the divorce, yeah, is happening. The business will be sold. I will sell my house. But now, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
So to go back to find out who you are, what are the things that you love
Right.
before your life kicked in, before you became so busy? Those are the things that you can go back to. Yeah.
I think that's so important. I talk to people about that as well, because I think, especially once we got out of college and we started working and then we had families, and we put a lot of things on hold because we were so busy. We had to make a living. We had to get the kids to school. We had to, all of the stuff we had to do. And now it feels like I don't even remember sometimes. You get into those places, and this. I mean, you get discouraged. You get into these places where you're like, I just don't even remember. And that's when I encourage my clients to take time to sit down and journal a little bit and try and recall. Did you love playing the piano? Well, you don't have to play it at Carnegie Hall, but play the piano. Did you like biking? Get on a bike again. I mean, there's so many things you can do that don't just define like you as a working person.
So true. So true, Wendy. And just one other thing, because what happens is we start really getting deep down and dirty, saying things, well, I'm too fat.
Mm,
I can't go back on that bike. I don't want to go to the gym because I really can't. I don't look young and trendy and hip, all that kind of stuff.
right.
And that stuff prevents us from exploring. And so we can always find a something that we could do if we want to. And I'm thinking of a story of someone who was, well, she's in my podcast, like you mentioned, one story at a time, changing,
Yeah.
yeah, the really the lexicon, because we do not have to wait because we're older and get off the treadmill unless we want to. And we can slow down because our bodies will change, but we have every opportunity. It's all about mindset.
Hmm.
So it's really that feeling that I don't want to just stay. And I'm thinking of this story. She was an influencer. Money is no object. Okay, she was back in the day of being well, here in Canada, it's TLC? It's a shopping network, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so she was one of those shopping network people, and she was
Mm.
selling her stuff, and then it was all over Canada, the US, you name it. And then what happened is she developed cancer.
Oh.
They bought her out, and she said, well, now I am officially retired.
Mhm.
And she said, now, I have to fight my disease. She was off for that entire year.
Mm.
And by the end, when she was off, it's like going back to what? And her story was when she thought of going back to what, there was nothing. And
Mm.
so what she did was she said, I am bored. I cannot not do this. And she said, I used to be there selling my stuff on the shopping network. There's podcasting out there. I'm going to be a podcaster.
Is that right?
And even though she's in her 80s, okay,
Wow.
yes, okay, she said, okay, I am going to go out there and I'm going to learn podcasting. And that's the mindset.
That's awesome.
Because when she started, she said, it's totally different, but I can learn it.
What a
And
great story.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
one story at a time.
Yeah.
And all of us, when we get hit on the head, this is why I love aging with purpose and passion when of course, I'm passionate as I'm talking.
I know. We have no lack of that, do we?
Don't. Because when you're passionate about something, it gives you a reason to get up in the morning.
It does. It does. It does. So let's get a little more granular and let's talk about purpose. Like I think our purpose changes as we go through life. And talk to me as a psychotherapist and a coach, like why is purpose so important besides just getting up in the morning?
It's fulfillment. If we all need to do something that makes us feel good. And I have to tell you, we even have studies. I'm not going to get into all that other stuff. It's not about a lecture, but there are people that are very happy gardening, taking care of children, doing whatever. That's wonderful.
Right.
Not everybody has to have this marvelous sense of purpose or have a podcast or, we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is you have to be satisfied.
Exactly.
And if you're happy, doing what people would say is nothing, okay, great, because it isn't nothing, it's something.
It is something.
And it fulfills you. But we all need to feel fulfilled. And so this is where that sense of purpose is so important. If you're fulfilled by just, I'm retired, I did not like my job, now I have an opportunity to talk to my friends, etc. But if you're a crazy driven woman like I am, then you will do that too. Okay.
And you need more. But you know what? Building those relationships with your friends gives you a sense of fulfillment and a
Yes.
sense of
Yeah.
meaning. Growing that garden, figuring out, where things go, fighting those darn pests and the weather, that does also give you a sense of fulfillment. So I think we get hung up with the whole idea of purpose with a capital P, but it can be multiple purposes and purpose with a small p, and it's that sense of fulfillment. I think you absolutely nailed it with that word.
But the thing is, we have to feel that we matter.
Matter.
And that's the community.
Yeah.
And that's people around you. And it can be also with what you do. Because if you're pushing yourself, I can give you every single story in Aging with Purpose and Passion. I really can. But I'm thinking right now of Kathy Taraconi, who, as if you've been following any social media on LinkedIn, she's establishing a community that is a dream for her. It's an over 55 community, women only, and their dogs. And there's a reason for that. It's because when she had to leave her apartment and find somewhere else, no dogs were permitted. So this is a community that she's building. And unfortunately, at 78, she has all kinds of health issues. And she was just 4 weeks ago pretty well proclaimed that she wouldn't live till the end of the week, seriously. And she is still pushing, and she is still working as hard as she possibly can. That's where the purpose and passion comes in.
Yeah,
It,
that's inspirational, and that's definitely the passion that's
oh,
pushing her. Yeah.
yes. So to have a reason, raison d'être, as the French say, a purpose for a belief. I have to finish that book, or I have to finish those little booties for my great grandchild. Whatever it is, it has to be a mission. It can't just be just another day. And
Yes.
those are the people we're talking to today. Those are the people that it doesn't have to be like that.
It doesn't. And I think that some of the studies have also shown that when you feel a purpose and you feel like there's a reason to get up and you have meaning in your life, you live longer.
True.
By, not everybody, right? We can't guarantee that, but the studies have shown that people that feel relevant, that feel like they have a purpose, live healthier, longer lives, because you're not just sedentary. You're not just sitting there wondering, well, is it lunchtime yet? What am I going to eat for lunch? Oh God, no, you might even miss lunch because you're so involved in what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about relevance, it's really about, staying active and having that sense of community. So whether it's the golf community or, or any community, the Mahjong community that you may have adopted, as long as you start to feel that I matter, they need me, I'm a contributor, you can volunteer, but also you can build a business. You can pivot. You can change. Because just as I was mentioning, we're online, we're on YouTube, we're everywhere on LinkedIn, everywhere. And today, all you have to do is click a switch, find people that can help you, people that can inspire you. It is so easy today, but we have to take our squirrely little minds and say,
Mm.
I have to reach out. And once you do, your whole world changes.
Well, you know what? And I think that's a really important point you made about finding people to help you. I mean, we are in a collaboration group, right? And part of that is to help. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts talking to women who are aging and wanting people to feel that you're still important and relevant. And we all have different audiences. And so we thought, well, let's collaborate and let people know, oh, there's other points of view. There's other ways to look at it. There's people that are talking about travel and people that are talking about health and people that are, so I think reaching out for help and finding those resources is so important. And I mean, do you find, Beverly, that sometimes people are ashamed to ask for help?
Yes, of course. I've always say, and I even say to my clients, particularly those that are struggling, that you've just taken the hardest step, making the call, reaching out,
Mm.
but it's not threatening, because what happens is we all have to reach out. When you're talking about the collaboration group, I know what I know, you know what you know, everybody knows something different.
Mm.
And so when we collaborate with each other, we grow stronger.
Yes.
We spread our wings. And that's the same thing when you're hiring a coach. A coach isn't someone that's going to tell you what to do. You already know what you have to do.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You may not know how right now,
Yeah,
but
but you
yes,
know.
you do. Yes.
And so what it is to get you from what you know to what you feel you can do. Click, click. Then it happens.
Mm.
And when it's a collaboration group, or whether you're working with someone coaching or in a coaching group or anything like that, you learn from each other. And once you learn from each other, you empower each other. And so when we're talking about aging and we're talking about resilience and we're talking about continuing, it really is about empowerment. Because when I'm saying or thinking, oh, I'm too old, and someone else will say, well, yeah, you're older than me, but look at all the arthritis I'm carrying, whatever. It's like you can start to say, okay, I'll go with the age. It's like,
Well, and I think the other thing is you find out you're not the only one, right? We talk about all of these things because so many people are questioning and dealing with these self-limiting beliefs and these, you know, things that hold them back. I want to tell you a quick story also about my mother, who is 94 and is living in a senior living community, and she just recently moved in to this new apartment. And she was feeling adrift. At 94, she still felt this need to be useful. We need to stay healthy, to keep our minds active, to somehow get involved. So she started looking around, and they have a little library there, and she found that she could volunteer at the library, and she is now doing that a couple of days a week, and she just feels so much better. Her energy level is up on those days, and it's amazing.
yeah,
And it's not amazing because you and I know this, Beverly, from the work that we do. Staying involved, having a meaning and a purpose makes a world of difference,
exactly.
no matter
You
how old you are.
matter, and no matter, we have to feel that we have relevance and to find it. And there's so many ways to find it today, as you know, Wendy. There's so many ways. Even if you're housebound
Mhm.
with online, even if you're living in a community of a large condominium association.
Mhm.
Get involved. And everybody has value. And that's what I think everyone should remember. You say, oh, I didn't get my degree, or yeah, but that person's a lawyer. Every single person has a strong suit and a weakness, and it doesn't matter what you've attained. It really is who you are. You
Mhm.
may be able to just be helpful and be able to just have ideas, or not even have ideas, be supportive. Whatever it is you can give to whatever community, there's something that you can give. So don't ever think you have no value or I'm too old. All you have to do is want to.
So tell me how first of all, how you got started in podcasting and what that gives you in way of fulfillment and purpose.
Oh, that's so great. I'm so glad you asked that. I love it. Okay. Um, Well, first of all, years back, as you did mention, I was a talk show host on an AM radio station, and it was Get a Life with Beverly Glazer, and I was on air for 5 years, which is a pretty long run in radio land. But Beverly Glazer needed a life. It was every single weekend. You have to be there when it's in ratings, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when I said, yeah, that I wanted to travel more, and, my husband was more working in the States, and I'm in Canada because of licensing and all that stuff. So what I did was I said, okay, maybe I will slow down, which I did. And so they gave me the Nightline, which was exhausting. You have a day job and a night job.
Oh, yeah, that would be tough.
You don't have a life. So I said, okay, I continued building my practice, etc. And like you were saying, life kicks in, right? And with COVID, of course, I closed my office and was able to, because of no restriction, because we have all kinds of restrictions as a therapist, to be able to get into the coaching sphere, which is
Mm.
what I was doing. And I always loved talking on air um, to people. And when you're working, and when I say to people, I am talking to you, which is wonderful.
Right.
But when you're in a studio, you don't even know you're talking to people, right? People call in, but you're there with your microphone, your producer, et cetera, et cetera. I knew nothing about podcasting.
Yeah.
And so I did all the reading and research and, you know, did what I had to do, fell down 1,000 times, but nobody really knew
Right.
because I didn't put it up on air. This was for me. Until I realized and I said, what am I going to talk about? Because I don't want to be that therapist on air giving up, information.
Mhm.
Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but what I did realize through all my journey with everyone is every single woman that I've spoken to, men too, but a woman, okay, holds up the family, holds up the job, holds up the community. What happens to her when she gets older? It's like, and now what for me? And so through different stories, what I was looking for was comeback stories, reinvention stories, stories of the second life, if you will,
Right.
second act, if you will. So, it's what empowers us to keep moving forward and onward. What is that? And as I listen to more and more stories, every single story empowers me. I am in awe
Mhm.
with the hurdles that women 50 are babies, okay? 60, 70, 80, and so on have gone through in their life and come up so much stronger. So that is why when we talk about ageism and put us in a block as if, oh, you're too old, it's like, No way. So, what podcasting does, Wendy, is it opens it up to everybody. And that's what I loved about radio. But you know what? With YouTube and everywhere right now on this live show, we
Yeah.
are reaching more people than I was able to reach in a studio that was just focusing, without large
Interesting.
studios,
Yeah.
because that's the way the world is today. So we never know who will be affected. We never know who will be listening. We don't know. But if we touch just one person
Right.
through the podcast, just one, okay, we've made a difference. And isn't that awesome? And so that's why I love podcasting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of what I love about it as well. I guess I think you said it, but it's the meeting of some of the people that we bring on our shows. Now I'm not just telling stories; I'm also doing a lot of educational kinds of shows. But I'm learning every time I talk to somebody, and I'm so curious. I think you have to be curious if you're going to be a good podcaster. But I'm so curious about the ways people are approaching life and the different things that we should be thinking about as we're getting older. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming, and so you take baby steps to do some of it. But I think, like you said, if you can reach just one person, and I think that's part of why we ask, please review and let us know what you got from the show, because it helps us. I mean, we're self-directed in a lot of ways, Beverly. You and I are both very self-motivated and self-directed, but I think it's so nice when you hear from somebody and they say, "Oh gosh, you made a great point on that. I really appreciated what you said about that."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, it's the feedback, and it's good feedback or bad feedback. It honestly doesn't matter because it helps us in every single way. It's like those Amazon reviews. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. You take what you want, But what you're doing is, if somebody's motivated enough to make a review, that is enough.
That is enough.
That is enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it
thank
helps us figure out what we want to talk about next, too,
you.
sometimes, because they're like, well, you didn't give me enough information on this story. And I don't know. I listened to your last one about with the woman who used to be a nun.
Amazing.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Amazing.
She told a great inspiring story. And she goes from being a nun to working at Microsoft. Like, oh, how do you do that?
Exactly. And each and every story it just blows me away. Here, she's been working there. She's in her 60s. She has no intention of retiring. And, and because she was a nun, mindfulness is what nuns call contemplation, but basically it's mindfulness. And what she's doing is she's writing books on mindfulness and teaching executives, not just mindfulness, but I'm sure she's such an asset to those very, very busy, stressed out people in Microsoft. I mean, there's a place for all of us somewhere. But what she had, Wendy, was the persistence and determination, because she didn't want to be on the street when she left the convent because of health issues. She felt there was no alternative. It's
Right.
like, now what?
Now
You know,
what?
I am going to, whether she's teaching divinity, it's not going to help her get her very far.
Right.
So it's our determination. So when we go right back to saying to people, which we did, this is really up to you. What do you want? And so in a story like that, the message really is, if you're determined. She sent out 42, you know, CV
Resume. Yeah.
resumes, right? And on the 43rd, she got one appointment, didn't know what she would be getting, if anything, but was determined to work at Microsoft. Can you imagine?
That's
Okay.
amazing. Yeah.
And she got a job only because of her will, and said, I don't know how long I'll last, but I'm going to give you my all in anything that I get the opportunity to do. Oh, who would say that, you know?
Right, right. And I think those are the stories that help us believe that it is possible. I love the word impossible, which really, if you break it up, means I'm possible. I
Exactly.
think that's brilliant. Um,
Exactly.
so, do you ever get to where you feel down and tired and like, oh God, one more show?
Oh, you know what? All the time.
And
Okay.
so, what do you do about it?
What do I do about it? I don't last long. Okay. It's like, do I go with the one more show? No, I don't really get down on that. What I do get down on, of course, is another day, right? And it's, the specific clients I see, the different issues that we go through. My clients inspire me, no question. But what it is, yeah, when you are working, although it's all my choice, of course, you know, it's you are working. So you always say to yourself, hey, I'd like to just maybe take time off. Like, why am I doing this? I think we all come to that, like, why
Mm-hmm.
am I doing this? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't take me long in that space to say, and when you look at your whys, my reason, okay, is the reason I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel alive. It makes me feel like I'm contributing. But we always have our up and down days. This is normal stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I always have the option, and so do you. Do you want to quit? Who's to stop me? Right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Your show. It's your show, your clients, right?
But I want to, and I thrive on it. And it's the same when I'm doing groups. Do I need to do another group? And there are 5,000 people and they keep coming in. It's like, are you serious, Beverly? Why? Why? Because it matters to those people.
Right.
And they get up every day and they talk to each other as friends. And you just say, wow, how nice.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a lot of giving back, but I thrive on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. But sure, we have our down days, Wendy, all of us, every day, particularly now we're here, in December, which is lovely, but the snow is coming down and sometimes it's not so white. And so today is a gray day. And that's when you say, hey, I'd like to go visit Wendy.
I know. Let's just sit and have a cup of tea and sit by the fire. I know. I know. I mean, I do little tricks with myself too, like I have little inspirational signs right over the coffee pot. It says, "Oh, get up this morning and tell yourself I can do this." So that's before I'm even opening my eyes. I can see that. And sometimes I'll journal, or sometimes I'll do some exercise, or just something to get myself going. A warm shower is the best. I love
Oh,
my warm shower in the morning, and I do some great thinking there.
yeah, always. Yeah.
I know. So we have our own little tricks that we use to get ourselves going again when it's gray outside, or we don't feel good, or.
Sure. But the wonderful thing about it for me is everybody has their stuff, right? But for me, if you have a purpose, you're not thinking of that. You're just
Right.
going into what you have to do.
Yeah.
And that's like your mom. If she's going to be, living with a lot of complainers or people that have all kinds of aches and pains, she doesn't want to start focusing on that. She
Right.
wants to be helping. And here's the library. So I have to be down at the library at that specific time because
Right.
they need me, you know?
Right. And helping is so important. So let me tell people how they can find you. As I said, your podcast is called Aging with Purpose and Passion, which is also the name of the website where they can find all of the podcasts, agingwithpurposeandpassion.com. And then your coaching website is reinventimpossible.com. Why impossible?
Because when you start thinking of what you want to do or may not, you really think it's impossible. And it's so you're reinventing impossible and making it
Ah,
possible.
that's
So,
great. That's
yeah.
great. So I'm going to put those in the show notes and so appreciate what you shared today and hope that people will go and check out your podcast. Really, some wonderful stories and rate and review Beverly's as well as Boomer Banter. And also, let me remind you that I'd love for you to take a moment and support Boomer Banter by going to buymeacoffee.com/heyboomer0413. That keeps everything running and going over here. Next week is going to be my last show for this year. It's going to be a solo episode, and we will continue our talk about purpose. And so, if you recall, we've talked about purpose with Nita Sweeney and how she used movement and mindfulness to overcome depression. And then last week, we spoke with Carol Orsborn about aging, spirituality, and self compassion. And of course, today's episode was all about purpose and relevance. I really appreciated the talk with Beverly. But I'm going to be talking about exploring dreams you may have put on hold, as we mentioned, hobbies you have, and some steps you can take to find your purpose in your later years. So be sure to join me as we round out 2024 with what I know is going to be an inspiring and uplifting episode. Thank you so much, Beverly. This was so much fun to get to chat with you. I wish we were sitting on the couch with our tea. But this was fun talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful holiday and a good 2025.
You too. You too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.
Oh, I don't.